who can we talk to first?
Well,
let's see if we can... there's all three of us. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Anna Riley first and foremost, because she's the latest result to have come in. Anna, I mean, a big win for the Labour Party, an expected win in some respects, but they've ended up with a very, very young MP now.
Good morning. Yes, people here in the Selby and Ainsty constituency will be waking up to the news that they have a Labour MP, Keir Martha. And as you said, he will be the youngest MP in Parliament, aged just 25. And this is a real blow for the Conservatives. This area it was created, the constituency, in 2010, and it's been Tory ever since it was created. It's made up of towns and rural villages, and it's a constituency that Conservatives thought was in with the bag, so a real boost for Labour here in the area. They won with a majority of 4,161. They had 16,456 votes compared to 12,295 cast for the Tory candidate Claire Holmes. The turnout was 44% here. That was down 30 points from the 2019 election, when 72% of people turned out to vote, and 80,159 were eligible to turn out and vote here. So this loss means, like I said, for the first time it will, since this constituency was created in 2010, it won't be represented by the Tories now. The by-election happened here after Nigel Adams, the MP, stood down. He was a close ally of Boris Johnson, but when he didn't get his peerage on the 12th of June, he stood down as MP, so that's how long people here have been without an MP, waiting for this by-election. Speaking to people here in the area, one of the key reasons why Labour may have got in was that it's in the top 40 seats in England and Wales for people that have got mortgages, and obviously they have been hammered by rising interest rates, so that was something that Labour really went in on its campaign. And we've got a clip from Keir Martha after he won this area, and this is what he's got to say.
I understand the enormity of what has just happened. I know what an honour this is, and I am humbled by this opportunity to serve. In this campaign, we have rewritten the rules on where Labour can win. People have opened their doors to us and embraced our positive vision for the future, and thousands of the votes cast yesterday were in Labour's box for the very first time. For those of you who have put your faith in our party, thank you.
And it was a swing of at least 17.9% that was needed for Labour to win the seat here, and they need a nationwide change of 12% to form a majority in the next election. And on the night, the swing that they had was 23.7%, and a similar swing in the general election would give Labour more seats than they won in 1997 when Tony Blair's New Labour came in. So we'll be getting reaction throughout the morning and throughout the day, speaking to people here in Selby and Ainsty constituency about their new MP and what they want from Keir Martha.
OK, Anna, thanks very much indeed.
Well, Jeff Moody, let's go to him now. He's in Lib Dem's newest West Country seat in Somerton and Frome. Good morning to you, Jeff. Quite a result there. Thread Davies saying that this puts the Liberal Democrats firmly back in the West Country.
Well, that's right. It's certainly a shock result, but it's not a surprise result. In fact, it would have been a greater surprise if they hadn't romped to victory last night. The Lib Dems were certainly expecting to, and in fact, they called the result shortly after the ballot boxes started arriving here at the Western Bath Showground in Shepton Mallet last night. They called the result incredibly early. But what is surprising is the size of that swing. They've gone from a 19,000 7,000 Conservative majority to an 11,000 Liberal Democrat majority. And this comes just a year after what was a real shock result down in Tiverton and Honiton, when the Lib Dems beat the Tories very, very decisively and really started to sound the death knell for Boris Johnson's government. That by-election was as a result of Neil Parish having to resign after being caught watching pornography in the House of Commons, his tractor porn. This election was the result of another scandal. David Warburton has been accused of drug-related offences and also of sexual misconduct. He has admitted to the drug offences, but he denies the sexual misconduct. But he has been forced out. But he had also really been missing in action for 18 months. And that means that the Lib Dems really had a kick-start here. They knew that the by-election was coming at some point. They didn't know when exactly, but they have had a lot of time to prepare for this. Now, Sir Ed Davey is expected in Frome later on this morning to declare this as a decisive victory, the first step really in reclaiming the West Country. The West Country traditionally, in the days of Paddy Ashdown and before, in the 80s and in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was very, very much a Liberal Democrat stronghold down here in the West Country. But they were decimated in 2015. So for Sir Ed Davey, the hope now is that these two decisive results, in fact, they've had 4 by-election results in recent years. So they're looking at that as a very, very healthy sign that they can retake the West Country. Well, the new MP here, Sarah Dyke, led a faltering campaign to start with. She conducted a totally car crash interview very, very early on, and it's been very circumspect in terms of the number of interviews she's been given since. She's sort of had her fingers burned slightly by not being prepared enough in that first interview she gave, but they have had a very, very good and a very strong campaign down here, much stronger than any of the other parties. You can just see that by the sheer number of posters around town and what people are saying when you go door to door. Let's have a look what she had to say when she declared her victory early on this morning.
I promise to be an MP standing up for you in Westminster. Tonight has been a stunning and historic victory for the Liberal Democrats. And it shows once and for all, the Liberal Democrats are back in the West Country.
And of course, all eyes now are on the general election, which could be somewhere around a year away. We always think traditionally of Labour versus Conservative, but down here there's going to be a lot of Conservative MPs in the West Country who are now looking over their shoulders, looking at their Liberal Democrat candidates as their main opposition, the ones for them to beat.
OK, thank you very much for that, Jeff Moody.
Let's head to Boris Johnson's former seat then, which didn't have a very big majority, actually, Uxbridge and South Ruislip. And Paul Hawkins is there for us this morning. Paul, I mean, look, this is the one glimmer of hope for the Tories, and actually a real surprise.
Yeah, it's all about ULEZ here, let's be honest. The other two give you a little bit of an inkling of where the national picture may be politically, but here it was all about local issues. The Conservative Party, the local candidate who's now the Conservative MP for Uxbridge and South Ruislip, Steve Tuckwell, who we'll hear from in just a moment, he made this all about ULEZ. And also that will give Susan Hall, who's recently been announced as the Conservative candidate for London Mayor, some hope as well next year. We're thinking she may turn up in Uxbridge later today, so we may hear her thoughts on that. But it was all about ULEZ. It was all over the promotional material. Steve Tuckwell making it about not just that, but also his local connections to the area. He's born in Hillingdon, raised in Hillingdon, schooled in Hillingdon. He's a local councillor. He's a former Royal Mail manager. So really interesting as well that on his promotional material that was distributed, 19 times you saw a mention of the local Hillingdon Borough of Mayor not once did you see Rishi Sunak's name mentioned, which was really interesting. But yeah, a 495 seat majority, a wafer-thin majority now. I mean, it wasn't big to start with, 5,500, down to 495 seats. They needed a recount, so there was a little bit of drama. About 10 to 2 in the morning, they announced there was going to be a recount, and then an hour later, the result came through. But here is the new MP for Uxbridge and South Ruislip, Steve Tuckwell.
By-election has been a referendum on ULEZ. It's absolutely been clear what the people of Uxbridge and South Ruislip want. They don't want ULEZ expanded, and Sadiq Khan needs to listen to the result of this by-election. I wasn't expected to win it, Labour were. This by-election has cost, well, Labour have lost this by-election because of the ULEZ expansion, and I'm incredibly proud to have been elected tonight to represent the people in the community that I've spent all of my life.
Yeah, so interestingly, Danny Beale, who was the Labour candidate, also distancing himself from ULEZ as well, saying now's not the time to expand it to the outer London boroughs because of the cost of living crisis. So certainly in the capital, ULEZ is going to play a really important factor in restricting what potentially could be big Labour gains.